my fear, more than fear, my observation is that the filmmakers of substance need support. And the problem is the amusement park films. The problem is that, which is something that's been pointed out for the past number of years now. But now I think, in effect, they've got real cinema on the run.
He shot me, bro. He shot me. I got a daughter.
It's very difficult for films of substance or attempted, how should I say? I don't want to use the word personal vision, but I have.
You are mine! Like the others before you. One by one, we will take you.
These projects, where can they be shown? Where can they be shown if the theaters are taken over by the well-made, beautifully made, animated pictures, in a sense? The thing about it is that they seem to be creating, it's another form. It's another form. And their theaters are almost like amusement parks, in a sense. So these films now, I think, are more like theme rides, in a way. And it's a different experience for an audience. Now, that audience could also appreciate narrative film. Different types of pictures that don't necessarily depend on heavy special effects and, how should I put it, comic book heroes. And we have, it's our obligation to try to make that clear to that audience.
Cinema, the artistic expression of one's human experience, conveyed honestly to another human being. Marvel movies are not cinema, in the same sense that Harry Potter is not literature. That is not to say that they are not well-crafted pieces of art. Rather, it is to make an important distinction between what entertains us versus something entirely different. Cinema is the examination of our very souls, a living autopsy performed on this moving canvas.
Brave Clarice, you will let me know when those lambs stop screaming, won't you?
Where human beings are cut open to expose the elements that compose us, from an initial courting, to sex, to birth, coming of age,
Look, over there! I see him!
then losing our innocence, and war and death. In a language invented by artists across every medium, from compositions in oil to arrangements of music and writing. An ultimate collaboration was a single purpose: to say something about being human. There are those that are fluent in this cinematic language, in slang or in proper syntax, improvised in jazz or formed to a staccato medley. They are able to speak at their own cadence, to their own rhythms.
But I see some things now that it's like the tempo is fast, but it's completely surface. There's no depth whatsoever. And just because a thing moves quickly along, it means nothing. It's just ridiculous. It's like just the thinnest little film on the surface of life. They're missing so much that's there. It's a shame. And somehow this quick things, popping from one thing to another is, it's gotten to be the way these days.
These poets are still committed to their art, but they are amongst the last of a dying breed. They can no longer keep pace with this new tempo.
Do you want to cut the time down?
What is this with everybody?
No.
What is it? Really? Why? I'm serious. Fucking A, man. It drives me nuts. Who gives a fucking shit how long a scene is?
They've allowed themselves to grow old and bitter. And from their chairs they sit and write their poems that few shall ever read. They protest and give their warning that few will ever heed.
They're making superhero movies, Marvel movies. They're making things for the 12-year-old comic book collectors. Are they making any movies anymore? Really? My thesis is this. It was the art form of the 20th century, but now in the 21st century, it's just another venue for distraction. Perhaps the problem is that we are in front of too many Marvel movies that are nothing more than a cut and paste of others. Perhaps these types of movies have turned us into zombies a bit. They have been poisoned, this cultural genocide, because the audience is so overexposed to plot and explosions and shit that doesn't mean nothing about the experience of being human. They're fucking boring as shit, and the scripts are not any fucking good. Despicable.
The year 1981. Over the past decade, films have matured and lost their innocence. With the romanticism dead and gone, the industry has been exposed and has become prime game. And there are sharks outside. Enter Sam Raimi, with axe in hand. A bit of a madman. He has a crazed look about him, as if he has something unsettling to say. He takes a puff of his cigarette. Then he lets his motherfucking axe do the talking.
You will die! Die! You will die!
The way Sam Raimi used the camera was completely new. It was completely, he took the camera and liberated it. I think that it propelled the film language many decades into the future. We all were in awe of the reinvention of the camera work. It really is a rephrasing of how far the camera language can go. The rigs that are done for the camera are in itself great special effects. You know, I think that they are sophisticated, beautiful. You can see it between Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 1 is juvenile and it's executed in a very juvenile way, but it's punk. It's like a punk album. It's like, never mind the bollocks, you know, it's savage. Evil Dead 2 is like the symphonic version of Nevermind the Bollocks conducted by Von Karajan, you know, or Leonard Bernstein and executed by the London Symphony Orchestra.
Sam Raimi and his camera go on to carve out a filmography like no other. Dark and twisted, rebellious and non-conforming. The very definition of punk rock. Then, the mainstream comes calling. And Sam has issued his biggest challenge yet as a filmmaker. Can you maintain your rebellious spirit while working for an established corporation? Can you play by their rules without leaving anything of yours behind? Raimi flicks his cigarette and replies with Spider-Man 1 and 2. Raimi leaves no doubt. Then comes time to make the third film. Sam is prepared to progress the characters that he has already established, but Marvel Studio has their own plan. They want Sam to add fan favorite Venom into the fold. He is hesitant, but they insist. He makes it known that he does not understand the character, so he refuses. The studio draws a line in front of Raimi. They make their intentions quite clear. Unsure what to do, he begins to pace around as he contemplates on the matter. He knows his options are limited. He knows, but cannot seem to decide. Either stand his ground and leave the project altogether, or something worse. He paces back and forth. All the while, he makes sure to keep the line in front of him. His stomach begins to churn, and his hands begin to shake. He is anxious, and he starts to crave that certain vice of his. In his most troubled of times, he knows he can always rely on that hit. It calms his soul. He struggles to pull out a pack from his pocket. A loose cigarette falls to the floor. As he bends down to pick it up, he sees his most terrible fear and suddenly recalls his biggest challenge. He knows now what he had to give up. He realizes that in his reply, he had crossed the line.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
You don't want to mess up, and I messed up plenty with the third Spider-Man. A movie that didn't work very well. I tried to make it work, but didn't really believe in all the characters, and so that can't be hidden from people who love Spider-Man. If the director doesn't love something, it's wrong of them to make it.
The line. On one side, you'll find artists that have something original and meaningful to say.
I want to make movies about things that, I care about deeply, that affect me deeply on a personal level. When that happened, there in the Bay, to somebody who was my age, looked like me, you know what I mean, had friends that looked like my friends, it affected me like you wouldn't believe. That's why Oscar's story was the one that I wanted to tell. I think that most filmmakers do that, you see a lot of filmmakers make stories about things that are passionate to them, make stories about places that they're from,
And on the other side, here you will find soulless, mindless nonsense. As the audience, you may freely cross the line at your leisure, but if you're an artist, crossing that line requires you give up something you may never get back.
But what I learned was have creative control over your project. No matter what the project is, as long as you can be the storyteller, it's the right movie to make. It doesn't even matter what the genre or what the script or what the budget. You just have to have control over all the elements.
The year 2020. The machine is operating on all cylinders.
We have a movie coming out on May 7th, 2021. Want to hear about that? All right. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Say hi to the director, Scott Derrickson.
But when I came and talked to Kevin about doing a sequel, I said I don't want to do just another sequel to do a sequel. If I'm going to do it, it has to go into the territory that drew me into the Doctor Strange comics in the first place, which is how they dipped into the gothic and the horror and the horrific, and we're going to make the first scary MCU film.
Yes! And I wouldn't necessarily say that's a horror film, but it is, as Scott Derrickson, our director, has pitched it. It'll be a big MCU film with scary sequences in it.
Scott got on his social media and wrote, "Marvel and I have mutually agreed to part ways on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness due to creative differences."
Scott Derrickson refuses to sell his soul and is disposed of. The fans are angry, and Marvel needs to save face. They draft up a new contract, but who would be willing to sign it on such short notice? Enter Sam Raimi. You look like shit, Sam. Where the fuck you've been, huh? You look like they've put your ass through the ringer. You lost? It seems like you've been searching for something. Well, whatever it is you're looking for, you won't find it there. No, because you quit smoking. Remember? A long time ago, you quit. Raimi turns in his first cut of the film. Based on initial test screenings, the producers calculate the box office returns. They are not impressed. They begin to collaborate amongst themselves. They discuss the changes they will make to the movie, and then they go back to Sam. They tell him he needs to cut the movie to make room for more characters, to appease the man children, for they are not satisfied with the amount of fan service.
And when Strange jumps on a taxi, there's a sign.
They demand more.
Stanley's, which might be a
More.
nod to Stan.
More Easter eggs.
Was Stanley.
More.
And the 2008 Hulk movie paid tribute to him with Stanley's Pizza.
They make a vulgar display of their power,
Wong shows up trying to strike
demanding certain actors play certain characters. And Xavier's chair is not the correct tone of yellow, and it needs to be larger. Cartoonishly larger. Finally, Sam has had enough. He stands, as if he might have something to say. He looks around, and then he mumbles something about how he used to be an innovator. Something about how he used to be punk rock. Before he can finish his thought, Marvel refers to the contract and tells him to shut the fuck up and go recut their film. Sam responds, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir," as he takes his bitch ass back to the edit room, where he begins to recut their film. He starts by plunging his axe into his chest and cutting out his heart.
They had their notes, they had their suggestions, and they were really good because they're a company that primarily just looks out for the integrity of their characters. So the notes really come from a great place. It's not about making more money for the studio. It's about, no, this is what Doctor Strange would say. No, this is what happened in the last Avengers movie, and this is contrary to that. We have to be on the same page. So their notes come from a really great fan place.
What the fuck happened?
Give me your answer.
What the fuck happened to film? This medium that I love. This art form that has the ability to transcend time and to speak its universal language across all cultures. That once stood alongside literature and philosophy at the pinnacle of our understanding of what it is to be human. What the fuck happened? That we settled for the mundane and allowed the suits to corrupt promising young talent into doing their bidding. That we sacrificed our understanding in deference to the gods. That we failed an entire generation, conditioned into believing that this is all there is. That this is what they deserve. That this is art. Fucking scandalous. This bald-headed fuck. I despise this man. With a fiery passion, I despise you. What you did to film. What you did to our culture. What you did to my love cannot go unpunished. And I hear you got the next 10 years already planned out.
24. Now there's a lot of dates there, and I am not, there'll be plenty of time.
Bitch, please. You think we're just gonna sit back and allow you to feed another generation this fucking tripe? You think we can allow you to rob another generation of cinema? You must have that cap on too tight. Your brain must not be getting enough oxygen if you think we ain't ready to go to war. We ready. We stayed ready. To every brand of artists that can speak in universal truths, not childish gibberish. Poets. To the poets that go beyond the surface and expose humans for what they are, no matter how disturbing their dreams
Your love letter.
or unsettling their
Straight
thoughts.
from my heart, fucker.
To the nihilist who exposes the absurdity of life.
It's not a boat. It's not a tree. This is no arrow.
To the impressionists whom are willing to slash their wrist because it makes for such a lovely shade of red. Thank you for what you do. And to a certain madman, you, what happened? Your sick thoughts used to be beautiful. You used to be fucking nuts. But nowadays, you seem to be heavily medicated, along with all the others. Well, the time has come, and you must ask yourself a simple question. Are you content with being a corporate shill? Just a name to sell their product? To do whatever the suits demand of you? Huh? Are you content? Content with being Marvel's little bitch? Or are you something else?
Spider-Man. He has the powers of a spider. Hence the name.
Gross. Does he look like a spider?
No, more like a man. Climbs walls, shoots webs. Yeah.
Out of his butt?
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
One by one, we will take you. Die! Die! You are mine! Die! Die! You are mine! Die! You are mine! You are mine! Die! Die!
So how come the Spider-Man stuff didn't create incursions? Oh, no, that stuff was allowed to happen because of the situation that happened in Loki, which was an ultimate incursion. The TVA can't cause incursions for some reason.
This Charles has a yellow hover chair, a green suit, the blue and black tie, looking exactly as he does in the 90s animated series. Actually, if you listen closely, the music of this moment is Ron Wasserman's theme music from that series. Da-na-na-na-na.